Hello everyone, welcome to the Hindu Current Affairs for Beginners. Let's start our today's session. Before starting the session, first let us see answers for the questions from our previous video. With regard to Election Commission, consider the following statements. In case of a difference of opinion on any matter, the Chief Election Commissioner has the veto power. This statement is incorrect because in case of a difference of opinion on any matter, then the matter will be decided based on the majority vote. The election commissioner, the chief election commissioner will not have any veto power. It will be decided by a majority vote. The chief election commissioner and the other commissioners receive equal salaries. Yes, they have equal power and receive equal salaries and are removed like the judge of Supreme Court. This part is incorrect because only the CEC is removed in the same process as how a judge of Supreme Court is removed. That is known as impeachment process. Whereas the other commissioners were not removed through impeachment process, but they are removed by the president based on the recommendation of the chief election commissioner. So even the second statement is incorrect. Unlike other commissioners, the chief election commissioner is eligible for reappointment. This is also incorrect. The CEC post-retirement is not eligible for any appointment. The CEC and the other commissioners holds the office till the tenure of 5 years or up to the age of 65 years, whichever is earlier. Here, they hold the office till the tenure of 6 years, not 5 years, or up to the age of 65 years. Yes, this is correct. So as all the four statements here are incorrect, here the question is select the incorrect answer using the code below. So as all the four are incorrect, the answer here is D, 1, 2, 3 and 4. The next question is consider the following pairs. Here I have given some of the New Years and the states in which these New Years were celebrated. The first thing is Puttandu. This is the New Year celebrated in Tamil Nadu. Ugadi is celebrated in Karnataka and also in AP and Telangana. Lasung is a new year of Sikkim and Pohela Baisakh. Don't get confused by this term Baisakh. Baisakhi is a new year of Punjab, but Pohela Baisakh is celebrated in West Bengal. So the fourth pair is incorrect. From this we can eliminate the options A, B and D. So the answer here is C, 1, 2 and 3 only. Now let's start today's session, and these are all the topics that we are going to cover in detail in our today's video. And the link for the notes of this video is already available in the description below in both PDF as well as in document formats. Our first article is CSIR plans genome sequencing to map population diversity. This article comes under GS paper 2 under the topic of issues related to health, and it also comes under science and technology under GS paper 3. Here from this article, from the prelims point of view, we are going to see about what is genome sequencing and what is this CSIR. The Council of Scientific and Industrial Research has planned to roll out a major mission to sequence the genes of 1,000 rural youth across the country. And the project is aimed to educate a generation of students on the significance of genomics. Now, let us see what is meant by the genome sequencing. It means determining the order. What is the order of 4 chemical building blocks, which are also known as bases, that make up the DNA molecule. What are those 4 bases? Adenine, cytosine, guanine and thymine. How these 4 are arranged will be determined through this genome sequencing, so that it will help us to understand how the genes together will work to direct the growth, development and maintenance of an organism. And it will also help us to determine unique genetic traits and the resilience towards diseases. Then the next thing is, what is this CSIR? Council of Scientific and Industrial Research. This is an autonomous body that functions under the Ministry of Science and Technology. It is the largest research and development organization in India, and it is ranked 12th in the world among the world government institutions. The next article is plea in Supreme Court on voting rights of under trials and convicts. Here, a petition was filed in the Supreme Court questioning why the right to vote is denied to the under trials and the convicted. This article comes under GS paper 2 under the topic of polity, and from the prelims point of view, from this article we are going to see what is meant by preventive detention and what is this article 32, what is this article 326 is about, and what is the section 62 of Representation of People's Act. First, let us see what is meant by preventive detention. Even before going into it, first we should know the difference between an accused and a convicted, a person who is known as a convict. Accused means, let us say a crime happened and the police is suspecting a person. Here this person might have committed the crime and he might not have committed the crime. Right now he will be called as an accused. Once he undergoes the trial, that means the court process, when he is submitted in the court, then after the trial and based on the investigation, and if he is proved guilty and he has committed a crime, then that person will be convicted. Now he is called as convict, but at the stage of investigation he will be known as accused. Now, what is this preventive detention? Preventive detention means imprisonment of a person with an aim to prevent him or her from committing a further offense. For let us say there is a criminal. Now he has served his sentence and he is outside. So the police has been suspecting there is a chance of a further offense. So the police can imprison this criminal suspecting that this person might create a disturbance. In order to maintain the public order and preventing this criminal from committing further offense, this person can be imprisoned even though he didn't commit any crime yet. That is called as preventive detention, preventing him from committing the crime. This will be done based on the grounds of security of state and to maintain the public order, or in case of security of India. The next thing is Article 32. This Article 32 of the Indian Constitution provides the right to individual to move the Supreme Court. An individual can directly approach the Supreme Court when the individual feels that their rights were deprived. Why they can directly go to the Supreme Court? Because Supreme Court is considered as the protector and guarantor of fundamental rights. So an individual, without following the lengthier process of moving the lower court first, he can directly approach the Supreme Court seeking justice when they feel their fundamental rights were infringed. And the court will issue directions or orders for executing any rights that were provided by the Constitution, because it is considered as the protector and guarantor of the fundamental rights. And these orders and directions were known as writs. So is it only Supreme Court that has this writ jurisdiction? No. Both Supreme Court as well as High Court were empowered with writ jurisdiction, and also the Parliament by law can extend the powers to issue writs to any other court for local limits of jurisdiction of that court. The next thing is Article 326 of the Indian Constitution. This will provide universal adult suffrage, but it doesn't mention the right to vote. Here this Article 326 deals with universal adult suffrage. According to this article, the elections to the House of People, that is to the Lok Sabha and to the Legislative Assembly of every state, will be on the basis of adult suffrage. That is, a person who is of 18 years can vote in the elections. Then what is this section 62 clause 5 of Representation of People's Act? According to this act, a person who is in the custody of police, that is an accused, or a person who is in the prison, a convict, whoever is that is serving the sentence, they cannot vote in the elections according to this section 62 clause 5 of Representation of People's Act. The next thing is need to address growth challenges. This article comes under GS paper 3 under the topic of economy. The RBI governor at the monetary policy meeting has highlighted the need to address the growth challenges. Here, from the prelims point of view, we should know what is this monetary policy committee, what is meant by core inflation and headline inflation that were mentioned in this article. First of all, what is this monetary policy committee? This monetary policy committee was established in 2016 by amending the RBI Act of 1934, and this amendment has provided a statutory backing for the Reserve Bank of India to operate monetary policy framework. The main function of this monetary policy committee is to set the repo rate. It is to set a policy interest rate to achieve inflation target, and this monetary policy committee is a 6-member committee. Prior to this monetary policy committee, it is the technical advisory committee that used to recommend this repo rate. What is this repo rate? It is the rate at which banks can borrow money from the Reserve Bank of India. Next, what is the composition of this monetary policy committee? As I said, it is a 6-member committee. It consists of Governor of Reserve Bank of India as its ex officio chairperson, the Deputy Governor of Reserve Bank of India, he is the in charge of this monetary policy, and one officer of RBI, he will be nominated by the Central Board, and 3 members, the other 3 members were appointed by the government and they serve for a tenure of 4 years. Here, how this monetary policy making will be done? They meet 4 times in a year, and for every meeting there must be at least 4 members to be present, and the decision will be made based on voting. Here, in case of a tie, then the RBI governor will have a casting vote or a second vote to break that tie, and they release a monetary policy report once in every 6 months. Now let's try to see a previous year prelims question. This question appeared in 2017 prelims. Which of the following statements is or are correct regarding the monetary policy committee? It decides the RBI's benchmark interest rates. Yes, that is the repo rate. It is a 12-member body. From this itself we can say it is a 6-member body. So the second statement is incorrect. It functions under the chairmanship of Union Finance Minister. Who is the chairman of monetary policy committee? The RBI governor will be the ex officio chairman of monetary policy committee. So even this statement is correct. As both 2 and 3 are incorrect, the answer here is A, 1 only. The next thing is headline inflation. What is this headline inflation? Headline inflation is core inflation plus non-core inflation. If we understand what is this core and non-core inflation, this is nothing but the headline inflation. This core inflation means the rate of, at what rate the prices on commodities except food and energy, how, at what rate the prices on the other goods were increasing. So what is this non-core inflation? This will measure both this food as well as fuel. Also, how these prices were also increasing. So to put it simply, headline inflation is the measure of total inflation. What is meant by inflation? First of all, it is the general rise in prices of goods and services during a period. Within a period, what is the level of rise in prices of goods and services is known as inflation. So this headline inflation means total inflation in an economy. It includes the price rise in food, fuel and all other commodities, whereas core inflation will exclude this food and fuel inflation, and this non-core includes this food and fuel inflation. So together core and non-core inflation is nothing but the headline inflation. The next article is BAR releases Mueller probe report. This article comes under GS paper 2 under the topic of international relations. Finally, the Mueller probe report was released. What is this? The Special Counsel investigation of 2017 to 2019. This is also known as Mueller probe or Mueller investigation and Russian investigation. These are the names that was given to this special counsel investigation. What is this about? This is a United States counter-intelligence investigation of regarding what is the Russian government's efforts to interfere in 2016 president election. Whether there is any interference of Russian government in 2016 US presidential elections. This is an investigation into this matter. The next article is A Struggle to Breathe. This article comes under GS paper 3 under the topic of environment. Due to the crop burning, the economic loss to India is 1.7% of our GDP in the last 5 years. And from the prelims point of view, from this article, now we are going to see about what is this air quality index and what is meant by odd even scheme. First, let us see what is this air quality index. In an attempt to make our air quality measurement easier to understand, the Ministry of Environment and Forest has launched an index known as National Air Quality Index in order to make our air quality measurement easier to understand even by a common man. This air quality index will provide us real-time data about what is the level of pollutants in the air, and it will inform people about what would be the possible impacts due to that pollutants on health. And this index will classify air quality as good, satisfactory, moderately polluted, poor, very poor and severe. Each band will be represented by a color code to express the level of severity so that people can easily understand. Then, what are all the pollutants were measured by this index? This index measures 8 pollutants. They are nitrogen oxide, sulfur dioxide, particulate matter of size 2.5 and of size 10, ozone, carbon monoxide, ammonia and lead. This is important. Please note down these. Then, who developed this air quality index? It is developed by the Central Pollution Control Board in consultation with IIT Kanpur and an expert group comprising of medical, air quality professionals and other stakeholders. Here, as I said before, there are 6 air quality index categories like good, satisfactory, moderately polluted, poor, very poor and severe. And these are the health impacts based on each level. The next thing is odd even scheme. What is this odd even vehicle rule? This was implemented in 2015 in the National Capital Territory of Delhi in order to control pollution. According to this rule, the cars that were running with the number plates ending in even numbers like 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, they will be allowed to run on roads only on even days. And it is same for the odd numbered vehicles. And the vehicles that do not comply these rules, that means odd and even rules, they will be heavily fined with 2000 rupees. And these fines will be collected on the spot in order to avoid the vehicle congestion. The next article is Predictable Chaos in Libya. This article comes under GS paper 2 under the topic of international relations. Here this entire article is about the background of ongoing Libyan crisis. As it is an editorial part, it will be completely analyzed in detail by Dr. Rambabu sir in his deep video. So now, from the prelims point of view, there are 3 things that were mentioned here. What is meant by African Union, what is this Cold War and what is this UNSC. Now let us see. African Union is a continental body that consists of 55 member states that make up the countries of African continent. Why they were formed into an union? In order to achieve greater unity between the African countries and Africans, and to protect the territorial integrity and independence of its member state, and to improve political as well as socio-economic integration of African continent. This is the reason why this African Union was established. Next, what is this Cold War? Post World War II, the United States and the Soviet Union, the USSR, were the world's strongest nations, and they were called as superpowers. They had different ideas about the economics and the government, and they fought a war of ideas that is called as Cold War, which does not involve any direct military action. It is a state of military and political tension between the Western Bloc and Eastern Bloc. This Western Bloc comprises of United States and its NATO allies, and the Eastern Bloc consists of the USSR, the Soviet Union, and along with its allies from the Warsaw Pact post World War. So it is a military tension between the Eastern Bloc and the Western Bloc, which is known as this Cold War post World War II. The next thing is United Nations Security Council. This is one of the 6 principal organs of United Nations, and it is charged with the responsibilities of maintaining international peace and security. What are the powers of this council? They had power to establish peacekeeping operations. They can establish international sanctions if any country violates the standards, and it can even authorize military action. And these powers are exercised by the UN Security Council by passing resolutions. In the form of a resolution, these powers will be exercised by the UNSC. And this UNSC consists of 15 members, of which 5 are permanent and 10 are non-permanent. These 5 members are UK, US, Russia, China, and France. The other 10 are non-permanent members, and these 5 permanent members were having a veto power. That means if any country of these 5 permanent members, they can exercise their veto by placing a proposal on technical hold. If there is a technical hold, this will delay the case for 3 months before it can come back before the committee. The next article is Cross LOC trade suspended after misuse by smugglers. The Ministry of Home Affairs has suspended this cross line of control trade in Jammu and Kashmir, saying that illegal weapons, narcotics, and fake currency trade are as a reasons to suspend this cross line of control trade. This article comes under GS paper 3 under the topic of internal security. From the prelims point of view, let us know what is this LOC and what is this National Investigation Agency that were mentioned here. LOC stands for Line of Control, and this is officially designated by the Shimla Agreement in 1972. This line of control is the boundary that separates the parts of Kashmir that were controlled by India and Pakistan. So it is the line between India and Pakistani controlled parts of a former princely state of Jammu and Kashmir. It serves the purpose as a military control line that is considered as a de facto border between 2 countries, India and Pakistan. And the length of this line of control is 740 kilometers, which is nearly 460 miles. The next thing is National Investigation Agency. We know that over the past several years, India has been the victim of large-scale terrorism that was sponsored from across the borders. We have seen lots of incidents of terrorist attacks, not only in the militancy and the insurgency affected areas, but also in the form of terrorist attacks and bomb blasts in various parts of major cities. So, in the backdrop of 2008 Mumbai terror attacks, a National Investigation Agency Act was enacted, and this act has created this National Investigation Agency, and this agency is the Central Counter-Terrorism Law Enforcement Agency in India. In India, we had several laws that deal with this counter-terrorism. So we need an agency to enforce all the laws that deal with counter-terrorism. It is this National Investigation Agency that deals with the enforcement of counter-terrorism laws in India. Then what all it focuses? It investigates into the offences like terrorist activities that threaten national security and sovereignty, like bomb blasts, hijacking of aircrafts and ships, attack on nuclear installations, and also on counterfeit currency, human trafficking, organized crimes, narcotics or drugs, violation of Atomic Energy Act and Weapons of Mass Destruction Act. This is important. It will look into the offences related to all this. And it has a jurisdiction to deal with the terror-related crimes across the states. It can investigate regarding these terror-related crimes across the state without obtaining any special permission from the state governments. If we look into the functions of this agency, it is to conduct in-depth professional investigation of scheduled offences that were listed, the offences that were listed in this National Investigation Agency Act, using the scientific methods of investigation and to ensure effective and speedy trial. And for this purpose, NIA has started this concept of special courts, and to develop a professional workforce through regular training and exposure to best practices and processes, and to display scientific temper and progressive spirit while discharging their duties, and to maintain professional and cordial relations with other state governments and union territories and other law enforcement agencies, and to build a database. This is important. It is also the aim of this NIA to build a storehouse of all terrorist related information and to study and analyze the laws that were related to terrorism from other countries, and regularly evaluate the laws, the existing laws in the country, and propose changes whenever it is necessary. Now let's see at today's prelims practice questions. The first question is Article 326 of the Indian Constitution is associated with, and the next question is which among the following pollutants are measured by the Air Quality Index? Try to answer these questions and post your answers in the comment box. In a tomorrow's video, we'll see the answers for these questions. And the link for the notes of this video is already available in the description below. You can download the notes from there. Thank you.